it's okay. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm nervous because of you.
All right, hello and welcome to our first online parent night. So far, no technical difficulties, so hopefully we'll be able to continue this again in the future. Reminder, students, if you are logged in right now, this meeting is mostly for your parents, so if you have your parents' device, make sure they also have access to it too, so they can get the information that needs to come through. Starting off, my name is Adam Bessler, and I teach math and reading as well as science to my homeroom, and we'll let the ladies go around and introduce themselves.
I'm Lauren Bitter. I'm a collaborative teacher in 5th grade, and I work in math and reading workshops and also with small groups.
I am Bonita Pack, and I teach social studies and writing.
And I'm Lindsay Van Orsdale, and I teach math and reading core. So the meat of each lesson in math and reading.
So the purpose of our parent night tonight is just to get you information into your hands about what your child's what your child's day is going to look like here in 5th grade. Starting off, if you have any questions that you want to chat in, you can always send them to us through Class Dojo. So if you see us on our devices, it's because we're using them to kind of respond to personal questions or questions that maybe we may end up bringing up to the whole group. So feel free to shoot those in. If you think of something later, feel free to also send us a message on Class Dojo, which brings us right into our first category, talking about communication. We primarily use Class Dojo as our method of communication. So if you are not signed up yet, make sure you put a note in your child's planner, and we will get the code to you because we send quick dojo reminders all the time just so parents can stay in the loop about things that are going on. So if you don't know what dojo is, it's a behavior management system that we use to help track behaviors and reward students for making good choices. We are stressing this year that it is not a tool for parents to be worried about every single point that's lost and every single point that's earned. It's kind of an overall big picture. So for example, if your child is not regularly losing points, there probably isn't an issue. Maybe they just forgot something in a class, and our policy is if you forget something in another classroom, we're going to take a dojo point. It's the times when those behaviors are repeated and happening multiple times. So just keep that in mind when you're logging in and looking at your child's behavior. We all have websites that we use. We probably don't use those as regularly because it's just as efficient to send out an email or to send something through Class Dojo, but you're welcome to check our website if you need additional information, as well as the school's website. We prefer email as our preferred method of contact. It's just easier. We can quickly reply to a message in the middle of a lesson while the students are on brain break. It's a lot easier than making a phone call, so that brings me to my next topic. If you do need to call, feel free to call. However, we may not be able to reply or get to your call right away. So if it's something that's urgent or something you just need to say to us, shoot us an email or even shoot us a dojo message as well. Those are both useful ways to get across to us. If you leave us a voicemail, we'll try and return your call within 24 hours. But again, email is the preferred method for contact. I look like I have some notes coming in here. And then finally, if you need to write a note, for a bus note or someone's getting picked up by somebody else, just make sure it goes on a separate sheet of paper and not in the planner because we do send those to the office. So it's just easier for us. Okay? All right, we will move on.
Okay, I'm going to talk about field trips. We will be going on a number of field trips this year in 5th grade. For you parents, you're going to want to make sure that your volunteer card is on file here at school and that it is up to date. If you signed up for a volunteer card in kindergarten, chances are it probably has expired. We've run into that issue in 5th grade in the past. So just make sure that your volunteer card is up to date and that it hasn't expired. You can do that by calling the office of visiting school. For students, field trips are a privilege and they must be earned. So if there is a consistent behavior or students are exhibiting certain things that we can't necessarily trust them to go on a field trip, again, it has to be earned. It is a privilege to go on a field trip. We will have a field trip coming up in September, Grow It, Eat It, Wear It. That is at the Alexandria Fairgrounds, so information will be coming out soon about that. I do believe that is something that they request no parents to that field trip, so we will just take them on that. We will also be going to the Freedom Center, to be determined on a date for that. We do a 5th grade picnic at the end of the year, but our big one that we're working on this year is Camp Joy, which is new for 5th grade. We've done some different things in the past, but we're going to hope to go to Camp Joy. We have a date penciled in March to go to Camp Joy. So that leads me to my next thing, fundraising, because it is very expensive to go to Camp Joy. They have supported some money for us, but all of our fundraising efforts are going to go towards Camp Joy. And then if we have anything left over, then it will help support our other field trips. But Camp Joy is the big one that we're fundraising for. So parents, we need your help. Things as simple, well, our main fundraisers, what we've done in the past, are candygrams, which I'm sure you see the papers come home, like Boo Grams, the Valentine Grams, so on and so forth. 5th grade gets all of the proceeds from that. And what we need from you is candy. Individually wrapped candy that can be attached to a little gram that has a little message on it.
Peanut-free candy.
Peanut-free candy. Yeah, I was trying to think of one of the sayings we had on the gram, but something like, trick or treat, smell my feet. That would be one of them. It has a message on it, and it's on a ghost, and we attach a piece of candy to it. And we charge $1 for those. So believe it or not, we make a lot of money on candygrams. So we're asking for parents to send in bags of peanut-free, individually wrapped candy. You could send it in as early as tomorrow. So we will use that throughout the year for grams. We also ask for volunteers to do that. Students will sell them at school, but then parents actually make them at home. So we have everything that you would need. We'd send everything home, and then you send it back in the following day, and we deliver them. So we're hoping to do grams during Grandparents' Day. Goodies with Grandparents. That's coming up soon. So if we could start getting some volunteers for that, that would be wonderful. If you shoot us a message through Dojo, a note in the agenda, email, and you can just start sending in candy, we would appreciate that. Also a big fundraiser for us is the product survey. So this is something that we've done the past several years here at Reiley. It is 5th grade is responsible for it, and we make a lot of money off of this. So please sign up. Mark down October 5th for the product survey. It's going to be from 3:15 to 6:15 in the cafeteria. We need children this year, actually, ages 6 through 12, but children have to be accompanied by an adult. So an adult has to bring them and sit with them throughout the survey. They will actually be testing like a toothpaste product and filling out a short survey. So it's not something very strenuous, but they just need a parent accompanied with them. We will be sending out paperwork next week about the product survey. If you could sign up and you could come with a child ages 6 through 12, that would be wonderful. We get $7 for every parent that comes with their child, and then we also get $5 for every student. The student has the option to keep the money or donate it back to the organization, which that would be us. So if the student would donate the money back to the organization, we would appreciate that. So that's potentially $12 for everyone we can get to come in through the door for this product survey on October 5th. We also do the Valentine dance, so we'll obviously to come, but we will ask for volunteers for that, some help for that because we take all the proceeds for that. That's what we've done in the past. That has always covered our trips, but this is going to be almost double the cost. So we're asking if anyone knows of company donations or any sort of grants. We're open to ideas. So if you have any information on that, please contact your child's teacher. And what we can't supply in fundraising money will be parents' responsibility for Camp Joy. So like I said, we have until March, but we have a lot of fundraisers in place to help us raise money.
Okay, I am going to talk about our non-academic goals in 5th grade. For those of you that have had students come through 5th grade before, you have been through the process of preparing your student to go on to the middle school, and that is part of our goal as well. And so we rely a lot on natural and logical consequences. We are preparing these students to go into the middle school and to be ready to have 7 or 8 or 9 teachers. And so we teach respect and responsibility. And in the very beginning of the year, we give them a lot of support. And as the year progresses, we begin to pull back a little bit and have them rely more and more on themselves. And so we're asking for your cooperation as we do that. Every year during this meeting, we inform parents this is happening, and we ask for their support. We also explain that students will begin to change. Hormones are going to start kicking in, and somewhere in the year, you will notice that your children are beginning to behave a little differently. So fair warning, that is coming. But we just want your participation and your help with that. We do really try to teach them natural and logical consequences. For example, if you've forgotten something at home, you're going to have to take the consequence. Or you've lost something, you're going to have to take the consequence. Because in the real world, there are consequences to our actions. We also work really hard with the district to prepare our students to go to middle school. They will have a visit later in the year from staff members to come. Specifically, they talk about music and band and other class options. There is a parent night that will be held at the middle school that you will be invited to attend. There's also a field trip. We will actually take our students in the spring to visit the middle school so they can get a feel of what it's like in the hallway. We also encourage you to participate in Camp Camel next summer. That will be an opportunity for your student to get into the building with all of the other incoming 6th graders so they can get more comfortable with that change, not only to a building but also to more students. And finally, to ease their minds on something they're really nervous about, we practice with combination locks. They seem to be very nervous about getting into their lockers. So towards the end of the year, we do help them to practice with combination locks so that they can get a feel for what that's like. So just know there's going to be lots of changes physically, emotionally, and we are here to work with you to help them get used to those changes so that they can go into 6th grade and into middle school feeling very confident about their abilities to problem solve and preparing them to be responsible students, not only this year but in the future.
All right, so we're going to go into just talking about our different subject areas and just do a brief overview of those before we wrap things up. So again, I teach the math and reading workshops or lab classes, and in my classes we essentially work through centers pretty much every single day. In math, they're going to see 3 different centers, typically a math journal center, a game center, and then there also is a compass learning or writing center, writing activity center, depending on what the plans are for the week. In language arts, it looks a little bit different. We work through 6 centers a week, and those centers vary from compass learning to working in small groups with the teacher, vocabulary, and things like that. And we do a lot of things online this year. You may have heard your students talking, or your children talking about Google Classroom. So it's something that I am working on this year to really get our students involved and understand and know how to use devices and know how to produce work and have products online. So my Fridays are dedicated to my 21st Century Fridays for my 40-minute block that I have, where we're focusing on things like word processing skills, knowing how to save documents, knowing how to access, knowing what a URL is, knowing how to use devices so they can be prepared for the future. So in my classes, there typically won't be any homework unless things weren't done in class. So if you see something written in their planner and they have homework, and it's maybe a math journal page or a separate worksheet, chances are they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing in class. So if you see those coming home, it'll be a big help if we have you on our team with saying, okay, it looks like you didn't get that done in class, so now it's coming home for homework. So Mrs. Van Orsdale and I, we work really closely together with our math and reading classes, and then my science class is going to be similar to the other teacher science classes. It is taught in our homeroom, and we do only have a 25 to 30 minute block for that, but so far we've been able to get some time in to be able to teach some of our science lessons. So I'll let Mrs. Van Orsdale continue talking about reading and math.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on, we all teach our own science, and science is a smaller chunk of time because in 5th grade we are not assessed on K-Prep, the state test, on science. So they are going to be assessed on math, reading, social studies, and on-demand writing. So that's why science is devoted a smaller amount of time. I teach the math and reading core. So I teach like the meat of every lesson. So we've been working a lot with area and with volume. So I'm teaching the heart of the meat of the lesson in math and also in reading. And then Mr. Bessler does the small group, the center rotation. In math, like he said, they probably will not have a lot of homework from me unless they did nothing in class. So if they're not doing what we're doing in class, then they're going to do it for homework, but that should not be very often. The only times that you will see homework might be a study guide. Oftentimes we try to break that up throughout the course of a week or so. So they might have to do questions 6 through 9 on their study guide that night. They are highlighting their homework in their agenda, so it should stick out if they have homework, but again, it should be minimal in math and reading. They will have unit tests. They will have like beginning of the year tests, mid-year tests, all of that jazz. Same thing in reading. We focus on the comprehension skill and the vocabulary skill. So we've been working really hard this week with our comprehension skill of cause and effect and summarizing, and then vocabulary skills. So they will be assessed on Thursday or Friday. Hopefully Thursday, but it typically ends up being Friday depending on how much we get through. On those skills, they will not be taking the big 20-question weekly test. They will be assessed on the skill of the comprehension skill. So like tomorrow, we've been working with cause and effect all week. They'll be reading a passage. There'll be multiple questions on cause and effect from the passage, and they'll be assessed on that. Same thing with homework. They shouldn't have homework unless they didn't do what we did in class. They should be good. And then we also work on ERQs a lot. We do a lot of writing for reading in my class. We do it in math as well, but Mr. Bessler tends to do more of the math writing involved, and I tend to do more of the reading writing. So we will be doing a lot of modeling of ERQs in the upcoming weeks before we set them free to do that independently. And I think that's what I do in a nutshell. If you have any questions about that, let us know, but the kids could probably explain it to you how it works. They see both of us for math and reading, but it's different.
Okay, and so I just want to talk briefly about social studies and writing. You should also not see homework coming home for me. I rarely give homework. Again, based on what they've already mentioned, I can say the same thing. If something is coming home, most of the time it is unfinished classwork, with the exception of the Living History Museum, which will be coming in the spring. That we will need some help from you at home in order for them to be prepared for that. And more information will come home later. Basically, we do a lot of participation in this classroom. They work with partners. They work in small group. We also have whole group activities that we do. We do a lot of note-taking in social studies, and so you should have already seen their notebook come home. As I've dojoed you before, there is a quiz coming up. They are expected to take that notebook home because that is their study guide. Everything that's in there is what they need to be prepared with. Occasionally, when it is a unit test, I will send home an official study guide, but it goes along with the notes in their notebook. We will also be participating in wrong answer analysis again this year, and I will teach the students how I do that, but just so you know, they will have the opportunity for wrong answer analysis on tests. I give quizzes pretty often, and my students know it could be an announced test or it could be a pop quiz at any time. I'm sorry, an announced quiz or a pop quiz. Anything that we're talking about that week could be something that I'm holding them accountable for. So as long as they're participating in class, and we do a lot of review every day, we get up, we move around, we do hand motions, there's a lot of chanting going on. As long as they're paying attention, they should be prepared for those quizzes. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact any of us with specific concerns. We, as Mrs. Van Orsel said, we are tested in social studies this year, so I will also be teaching them how to answer ERQs in social studies. In fact, that's what we've been working on for the past couple of days. I would ask your cooperation. We do keep a lot of things in our folder. I would appreciate it if those items would remain in their folders. Sometimes we get in there and parents feel like they need to organize or maybe clean some things out. I would like all of those items to stay in their folder. In fact, we write the word keep on them because we go back and we use those again for review, for K-Prep. Because again, we are tested in social studies in 5th grade. So please, if you would, keep all of those items in their folder. I know there's going to be things in there from August that are going to be in there until May, but please, I'd ask for your cooperation.
Just to clarify, there's social studies folder.
Correct.
So
There's
home
social
folders
studies
need to
folder.
be cleaned out nightly. Okay?
Correct.
But
Yes.
social studies folder, content folders,
Yes.
unless we've told them to pitch it, it likely needs to stay.
That's correct. So just be aware of that. Things need to stay in their content folders. Thank you. And then on-demand writing, we're in the middle of boot camp right now where students are showing that they understand, for example, how to write a 3.8 paragraph. I'm also going to be teaching them the difference between ERQ writing and on-demand writing. Basically, in a nutshell, on-demand writing is real-world writing. It's what you and I do every day. We write to a specific audience for a specific purpose in a specific format. For example, we might need to write a letter or an email. And so students are learning how to do that. That is tested on K-Prep this year. It's the first time that's been tested for them in elementary school. So we'll spend a lot of time learning what that looks like, how much time they have. They will get a lot of timed practice in class so that they are prepared for that in the K-Prep session. And I just wanted to mention a little bit about science. We are carving out that time daily, and students are getting a lot of time to work hands-on. In fact, if you ask them, they are in the middle of completing models, or in my class, we've already finished those models for the eclipse. So just be aware that we are making daily time available for them. But again, as Mrs. Van Orsel said, it's a shorter amount of time because we are required to test in the other areas. I think that's
all right. Well, I think we have everything covered. So I'm sorry if your screen went black. My iPad decided it wants to have an update right now, right in the middle. So that's why it's kept going black. So hopefully you didn't miss too much. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. Shoot us a message on Dojo, an email, and we will be happy to get back with you. We're looking forward to an excellent school year. And you can ask your students that as we get closer and closer to the end of the year, we talk a lot about middle school. So we go from roadrunners to becoming camels really quickly. So
Yes.
if you have questions, feel free to let us know, and we look forward to working with you throughout the year.
And just a word, we are here to work with you. We want to make this successful, and so we would appreciate if you have issues that you contact us directly so that we can work with you to work out those issues. We are here to make this a successful year for all of us. So thank you in advance for your participation and cooperation with us this year.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.